Good afternoon. Welcome to the EDD program and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program's 10th anniversary celebration. We have enjoyed being with you yesterday, today, and look forward to the afternoon and evening tonight to share with you in this celebration. Ignatius has called us to go forth and set the world on fire. Today, we come together to celebrate the many fires lit by students, alumni, faculty, and staff through this program. Father Hendrickson, president of Creighton University, is unable to be with us in person today, but would like to share his welcome in this video as we continue our celebration. Following Father Hendrickson's video, Dr. Mardell Wilson, our provost, will provide her remarks.
Hello, everyone, and by way of video, I would like to welcome the students, alumni, faculty, staff, and friends of the Interdisciplinary Leadership Program who are present here today for what will be an enjoyable program and a well-earned celebration. I'm sorry I could not be in person to help you celebrate such a wonderful milestone. It is quite incredible to see how far this program has come in 10 short years, and it speaks to yet another innovative expression for Creighton University, as well as an expansion of our compelling mission. I would also like to recognize today's guest speaker, Chris Lowney, who has been such a powerful voice for heroic leadership and Ignatian values, and whose own leadership has affected meaningful and positive change in our world. Chris is an important partner with Creighton in many ways, and I'm so glad you have an opportunity to hear from him. It just so happens that Dr. George has reminded me that this doctoral program was technically founded in 2011. And was one of the very first fully online programs at Creighton University. Now, by my math, that makes 11 years and not 10. But as you know by now, we wisely waited to celebrate in person until it was safe to do so. And I'm certainly glad for that. Since this program's inception, 48 states and 15 countries have been represented by our students and alumni. We've graduated 449 students with another 259 active today. 57 cohorts of students have traveled through or are presently engaging the EDD program. And the program has offered more than 1,000 classes since 2011. It has certainly been incredible to see such growth. Our doctoral students in interdisciplinary leadership, many of whom are represented in the room, breathe the Jesuit mission into their communities as change agents and leaders, in the corporate world, as educators and administrators, in nonprofit agencies. They take what they have learned in our classrooms and through their research, and they use it to address complex, real challenges that the world faces today. There is no program quite like it. We ask students not to be different, but to be themselves, to latch on to those things that make them wonderful, caring, and compassionate people that they are. It lets them reach their fullest potential and in turn, help their communities. Such a program is so very Creighton. Congratulations on today's milestone. And God bless.
Good afternoon. Thanks for that. And welcome to what is a very special occasion as we celebrate the 10th +1 anniversary of the EDD program here at Creighton. It's experienced great success in its first decade and really has truly positioned itself to lean into the leadership challenges and opportunities of our dynamic world. I'm Ardell Wilson. I have the distinct honor to serve as Creighton's provost. And I believe that many of you are aware that my own advanced degree is in EDD. And if you would humor me for just a few minutes, I'd like to share a little bit about that journey. Because truly, for me, an EDD was quite a personal decision, one that was purposeful in nature, not just one I stumbled upon. So as and I promise I won't spend too much time, but following my undergrad, I had to do a post-baccalaureate internship in dietetics. I'm a dietitian by trade, would have to dust off a few cobwebs, but I have those skills. And at the time, most of those internships were linked to independent hospitals. Not a lot provided graduate education, but a new program was introduced by the American Dietetic Association called it an AP4, pre-professional practice program, and an institution not far from the University of Illinois, where I had my undergraduate degree, was offering this. And they had a specialization for nutrition education specialist. And although my primary professor as an undergrad desperately wanted me to apply, it's a match situation similar to residencies, wanted me to apply at like places like Mass Gen and Johns Hopkins, I chose to try out this AP4 program. And partly because of the nutrition education specialist, I fell in love. And I got to be in front of a classroom that happened by a happenstance of an FMLA at the time, and knew that that was just my belonging because I had this lovely chalkboard in my apartment when I was an undergrad, and I just had this compelling need to educate. And I did educate as a dietitian every single day. But also as a farm girl and raised in really a first generation house. I was the third child of a first gen. I'm never quite sure how you describe that. And coming from a farm background, you went to college to get a job. And so my parents humbled me by the fact that I actually couldn't get the job I was going to college for without this other degree as well, which they didn't pay for, but they did at least understand that I had one more hurdle. So after I loved my time in the classroom, I knew I was going to be a dietitian. So I went off and did that. And I was an outpatient dietitian. And there's a lot of ways you can try to educate around a low cholesterol, low sodium diet, but they kind of start to get to be the same over and over again. And I felt sort of this looming something was missing. And my mother sent me an ad out of the newspaper. Real snail mail, real ad, real newspaper. It was 30 years ago for Illinois Central College that was hiring a program director in family and consumer sciences. And by the way of the ad, I had the credentials, a master's degree, to look into this job, and I did. I thought I'd never be hired. I was young and experienced, and lo and behold, they hired me. And I walked into the classroom, and about 5 minutes later, I knew I needed to pursue an advanced degree. And so I started looking around, and I did fall in love with the classroom. I fell in love with my students, and I had options, right? Why wouldn't I go back and get a PhD in nutritional sciences? Learn more of what I already knew. But the thing that was tugging me was this application of knowledge. And this EDD program in time, not leadership, but curriculum and instruction, was speaking to me in a way that showed me I could go on for an advanced degree in an applied way, linking it to the current job I had. I just had to travel a lot, and I was young and no children, so that seemed within reach, and gas was not for something a gallon at the time. And so I purposely said, no, I really don't want to know more about what I know. I want to know more about what I don't know and how I can influence those around me. And that's really where I see the EDD program and the EDD degree, and certainly our EDD in leadership, taking those students who are now graduates or those students who are in the room. You're attracted to it for a reason of you want to be more or magus, right? There's something out there. How do we know that we can influence others in ways to bring the world forward, whatever the world means to you, in a dynamic way, and through leadership is where this program positions you. I remember one of my very first courses in my EDD program My professor at the time, who became my major professor, who will always be Dr. Rhodes to me, never his first name, and made us 2 full weeks on the word juxtaposition. Juxtaposition is quite a word, isn't it? It is the value or effectiveness and ineffectiveness of putting 2 things together that are dislike, but have a lot of potential. And I think about, and it stretched my brain to think about, how do you write? We had to write this huge paper about juxtaposition around things within our current jobs, things within our life. But I think about juxtaposition in leadership, in ways that you bring 2 things together, oftentimes that are not alike, can be so dynamic for leadership. I know you're going to hear from our guest lecturer today regarding some wonderful things on leadership, and I'm going to use one of his quotes from Chris Lowney. Everyone is a leader, and everyone is leading all the time, sometimes in immediate, dramatic, and obvious ways, and more often in subtle, hard to measure ways, but leading nonetheless. We lead from where we are. Some of you have gone through a wonderful program that makes you quite influential to take others to that next step. But you are leaders among leaders. And so I thank you for your contributions to the program. I thank the tremendous faculty and staff who support the program and see its vision moving forward. And from someone who has EDD at the end of her name, we're soulmates. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Provost Wilson. Next, I would like to welcome Father Kevin Fitzgerald. He is the interim dean of the Graduate School and Professor, School of Medicine.
Well, let me too offer a welcome to you here today. I have to say, one of the great joys of this past year of being interim dean of the grad school has been my opportunity to get to know this program better and the people who are involved in it. It truly is amazing. It is much to be grateful for. And so I invite you now to join me in a moment of prayer, of gratitude and hope for the future. Almighty God, source of all life, love, healing, and peace, we pause to ask your blessing on our gathering together to celebrate the gift the EDD program in interdisciplinary leadership has been to Creighton University and to the world these past 10 years. Though all are called to bring your gifts of reconciliation and mercy to any who are in need, you invite some in particular to the ministry of leadership, to guide, encourage, and support those in their care to build a better world for all to enjoy. So today, we thank you for and ask your continued blessings on all those who initiated and have supported this remarkable program. We thank you especially for the vision and commitment of Isabel Czerny in responding to your call to leadership. Please continue to bless her as she commits herself to yet another role of service in your name. We also thank you for the current program leadership, for the faculty and the staff. Continue to help them grow in their desire and ability to form compassionate and competent leaders for our world that is so desperately in need of such role models. Most of all, generous Lord, we thank you for the incredible students you send us from around the world. Fill them with your wisdom and love, that they may fulfill their desires to bring your healing, forgiveness, and peace to the multitudes crying out for your care. Almighty God, we ask you much, and we thank you for much more this day, for we have come to know that you always hear us when we join Creighton's Jesuit and Catholic voice together with all the voices of the different traditions that constitute our Creighton community And all together say, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Fitzgerald. Please welcome Dr. Gail Jensen, Professor, School of Pharmacy and Health Professions, and the Vice Provost for Learning and Assessment. Dr. Jensen has a deep and shared history with the EDD program. She was graduate dean when the EDD program was established in 2011, and we are glad that she can join us today. Dr. Jensen.
Thanks. It's really a thrill to be here, and I'm going to speak just for probably under 2 minutes, probably just a minute. But I want to share what I do usually these days is history. So I'm going to share a few points of light about the program. And starting out by, we all stand on the shoulders of giants. We have to realize that. And the development of the EDD program and interdisciplinary leadership was definitely what we call a road less traveled. And I would say we actually had no road. We had to build a road. And Creighton was a great place to build that road, just given the complexity of a university with professional schools, a strong undergraduate college, health professions, graduate programs. The need for interdisciplinary leadership was very visible in many organizations. So you got to get your administrator to support you. And at that time, the academic vice president was Patrick Borchers. And he took the risk of developing an innovative program. There's always a financial risk with any innovation. But there was a critical piece here, and Isabel knows this, we call them the three wise men. So this was a collaboration and really the ability for us to use the mentorship of colleagues at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln who had an online leadership program. So we had the wisdom of Dr. Alan Segrand, Ron Yokel, and Jim Eric, who provided the early consultation and connections. And Al was incredible. Al was a longtime vice president for finance at UNL. He came out of the ag side, but very much into educational leadership. And I'd call Al and I'd say, you know, Al, I need your advice. I've got to convince Pat about how budgetarily we can do this. Yeah, right, Mardell, right? So I said, what should I do? So he would send me an email and I would take his email and say, oh, God, that sounds really good. And so I'd revise it slightly and I'd send it to Pat and Pat go, yeah, this sounds great. This is the truth. I am telling you the truth. We also had colleagues that came from across the campus. I mean, it was really our ability to pull from the health profession schools, from the College of Arts and Sciences, from the education department, and people from the community coming together. And Al and Ron had incredible connections. We did focus groups. So it was really bringing together the village that we needed to start the program. And then we needed early program, new program development is always a bit messy. It's a bit uncertain. And we needed the leadership and courage of Dr. Isabel Cherney. It's like, Isabel, you know, you want to do this, right? You want to leave the Department of Psychology and take on this venture, right? And she really had to navigate, you know, what Donald Schoen calls the swampy lowland of practice or interdisciplinary work. But it's also important that Isabel is from Switzerland, right? That's really, that's an important component. You got to leverage everything you can. And then we had the commitment and courage of the founding faculty, because this was a new venture. We didn't have a tenure process, a rank and promotion process that sat to really house this program. So we had people, we were bartering and getting appointments in the College of Nursing and in the College of Arts and Sciences as we brought this interdisciplinary group together. So Jennifer Moss-Breen, Jim Martin, Leah Georges, Peggy Hawkins, Barbara Brock, those folks were the founding faculty who really were on the messy, uncertain edge of this. And you know, I really respect their commitment and work in laying the foundation for the program, which was difficult and it was a lot of work. There was no workload formula, right? Right, they know that. And then the early cohorts of students and the continued cohorts of students who take a risk to come aboard, but you bring such wonderful, rich experience. There's nothing better than a community of inquiry or a community of practice where you bring together your lived experience, your life experience, and that's how knowledge is created. And that's what we've seen again and again. It's so exciting to see the new cohort come in and hear their stories. And you learn from each other. We learn as much from our peers as we do from faculty. And we need your leadership. I mean, the problems these days are complex. We have to, challenge the status quo. We need interdisciplinary leadership. We certainly need it in the health professions. We need it in so many organizations. But you are what really matters. There is no question, because your commitment and your ability to create a more just world is what we need. You are true boundaries spanners, and we are so proud of you. So go forth and light the world on fire.
And next, I would like to introduce Dr. Leah Georges, our current program director.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Father Hendrickson, who joined us virtually or by recording, Provost Wilson, Father Fitzgerald, and Dr. Jensen for your remarks and for being with us today. The support you provided us to the EDD program has been continuous. It's been significant and inspiring as we look back on where we've been, where we are, and where we're going together as an EDD community. Let me welcome all of you again on behalf of the EDD program. It has been a joy to share space with our alumni, our current, past, some future students, I hope, in this room as well, and many friends of the program joining us today. We've been thinking about this event for several years. We mentioned it some years ago. Wouldn't it be fun to host a 10-year reunion of sorts? And then pandemic season happened, and we thought, well, did it come and go? Absolutely not. 11 years sounds like a beautiful time to come together and celebrate where we've been. I also would like to acknowledge a couple of special guests today with us. Dr. Cindy Costanzo, if you're close by, if you want to stand up and so we can all wave so we see you, please. Thank you. Thanks, Cindy. The Senior Associate Dean of the Graduate School and Chair of the Department of Interdisciplinary Studies. Thank you for your leadership of our department, especially in this transition to the new College of Professional and Continuing Education. Your visioning and propensity to say yes and has provided our program room to be creative, but also different thinking as we look to the future in that newly formed college. Thank you, Cindy, for being here today. I'd also like to acknowledge Marianne Danielson. Dr. Marianne Danielson, you're close by, I think. You were there. Okay, yes. Thank you. So our students know Dr. Danielson is a student-centered instructor in the EDD program. I saw you with some of our students just a bit ago. The Creighton community knows Dr. Danielson to be a dedicated advocate of academic excellence, assessment, and a professor in the Department of Communication Studies. Please join me as well in congratulating Dr. Danielson on her recent election to President of the Faculty at Creighton University. Marianne, thank you for your leadership of our institution and our program. Finally, if the faculty, full-time and adjunct instructors, past and present, would please stand, we would like to specifically thank you for walking with our students as they pursue their own goals in the EDD program. You are the thread that ties our program together, and our students are better scholars and practitioners because you are or were here. Sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. A funeral director, a fire chief, and a Jesuit priest walk into a bar. Okay, so there's no bar, but there is a funeral director, a fire chief, and a priest. There's also a kindergarten teacher, a congressperson, a financial advisor, a work from home mom and dad, a 4-star military general, a college student affairs professional, a retired actor, working farm owner, nonprofit fundraiser, and a physical therapist. This is what fills our virtual classrooms and hallways every day. The diversity of thought that is what makes us work. This EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program. And today we celebrate 10, perhaps 11 years of intentional interdisciplinarity as a community of scholars and practitioners. As Father Hendrickson shared, the EDD program, founded in 2011, has admitted 57 cohorts of students from an incredible diversity of professional and personal background. With over 450 graduates and 259 current students, as well as over 100 instructors across the EDD coursework and 321 dissertation committee members since 2011, the EDD program has made its mark. Dr. Peggy Hawkins, I believe you hold the record of EDD committee service with a whopping 107 student dissertations. Where's Peggy? Where did Peggy go? I saw Peggy. She's here. Okay, she was here, but we have to remind her that she holds the record, and she in fact reminded us. The amount of knowledge and number of stories shared across all 1,070 individual courses since 2011 is breathtaking. These numbers are impressive. They are, but they're not numbers, they're humans, and they're ours. There are students and graduates who've taken interdisciplinary leadership out into the wild and lived the EDD program across 48 states, Washington, D.C., and 15 countries, not including the countries where our students in the United States Armed Forces have been stationed over the years. Now imagine for a moment, if you will, if each of these students and graduate stories, leadership, and new knowledge touches only 20 people, and we know it's far greater than 20 folks. That is 14,160 people who have benefited from this little old program at Creighton University. And that's just 11 years. That, I might surmise, is a reach far greater and in less time than many other doctoral and applied scholar practitioner programs, perhaps even here at Creighton. I have a bit of history, but Dr. Jensen shared a great deal of it about founding program director Isabel Gail Jensen, one of our front runners, of course, in this program, and the three wise men, of course. They taught us what a fully online scholar practitioner doctoral program could look like. And the early challenges of creating this program weren't, as Dr. Jensen beautifully shared, unlike those we ask you, our current students, to tackle today. There are silos to break down, stakeholders to bring along, and firm and not so positive beliefs about online education to address. It was complex. It required interdisciplinary thinking and unrelenting champions who knew this could be done. As Father Hendrickson shared, the EDD program is one of the first fully online programs at Creighton. And online education now feels so obvious and accessible, but 11 years ago, it was revolutionary, exactly the word that Dr. Cherney used some days ago when we were talking. And we were and still are a pace setter in online scholar practitioner leadership education. In the early days, as Dr. Cherney had said, we couldn't stop people from coming. It was extraordinary, and that hasn't changed. At our highest enrollment, the EDD program was home to nearly 400 students, and several of those very early graduates are indeed with us here today. As Dr. Jensen shared, the creation of the Department of Interdisciplinary Studies has become the home to the EDD program in 2015. And with our new home came the opportunity for tenure and promotion as a program faculty. And as of this moment, I am pleased to share that each of the full-time EDD faculty has indeed achieved both tenure and promotion. Now, as Dr. Cherney transitioned to new leadership roles at Creighton and then outside of the university, Dr. Jennifer Mosbreen-Kazelka took the helm of our program and moved us into our adolescent years, if you will, firming up the curriculum and settling into some of the changes we had made to advance the field of leadership, education, and our students' educational experiences. Dr. Mosbreen-Kazelka's leadership encouraged a sustainable pace for the program and a renewed focus on the idea of interdisciplinarity. Here in 2022, we celebrate 11 years of interdisciplinary leadership education. And I strongly believe, maybe more than ever, that as John Le Carré beautifully articulated, a desk is a dangerous place from which to view the world. You, our students, do not sit quietly at a desk or stay quietly on the sidelines. You're advocates and agents of change in your communities. You've explored and tackled such diverse topics as reinvigorating youth leadership in the Catholic Church, first responders' effectiveness in serving frequent users of a local EMS system, the lived experiences of military widows, the leadership journeys of Black female athletic directors in NCAA Division I schools, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on public school teachers' well-being, the care and transition and reintegration of retired military civilians, nurses' experiences caring for LGBT patients in a rural community, and many, many more. And along the way, you lift each other up, no matter the distance or time zone, and you walk each other to the finish line. That is Creighton. That is Women and Men for and with others. That is why this program is what it is. Learning together while sitting alone has never meant that we are not in community together. Far from it. As much as you learn from the coursework and your research, and in turn, as we, the faculty and staff, learn from you, and with each new cohort of students, I leave even further humbled that this group, whatever group showed up that day, this group of accomplished and curious and kind and justice-oriented souls has chosen us to walk with you as you become your best, most whole selves. You've taken Creighton into the world and insisted that it do good and that it is good. And I feel very, very lucky to stand here today on behalf of the entire EDD programs past, present, and future and say thank you. As we look to the future, I know as students you yearn for more courses and dedicated time from the EDD faculty. This is top of mind for us as well. And we continue to advocate for resources to bring us closer to you. I'm also very pleased to share that this summer we will welcome 2 new full-time faculty members to the EDD program. Dr. Gargi Vyas, a graduate of the University of Kentucky, and Dr. Moises Gutierrez, a brother of the Franciscan Order, coming to us from the University of San Diego. I can't wait to introduce you to them in the coming months, and you are going to thoroughly enjoy sharing space with them, I know it. As Dr. Wilson shared, soon will be part, or may have shared, soon will be part of a new college, a college professional and continuing education. We can pin her down to tell us more about that, I'm certain, anytime. Where we'll be beautifully suited to stretch both our academic muscles and have rich and ready resources to take our program's expertise into the larger Omaha community and beyond. Looking with intention towards where we're going together as a program, our ever-present focus is in creating a diverse, equitable, and inclusive home for students, faculty, staff, and people with whom our students share space. Our continued efforts towards providing equitable learning opportunities for all learners are just that, something we pledge to continue through our recruitment and retention of both students and faculty, and a plan of study that's embedded with diverse voices and perspectives and program support that meets all students where they are in their personal and professional interests. There's a great deal of work to be done, and we commit to holding ourselves accountable for this important and necessary continued conversation. And I thank you too for holding us and each other accountable as well. Finally, I'd like to leave you with a reflection that one of our own dedicated adjunct faculty shared with me as Dr. Moss-Breen Kozelka graciously handed me the baton as program director just about a year ago. Dr. Rob Kuntz, longtime adjunct faculty member and Learning Institute, then writing workshop facilitator, shared, when I read about transitions in life, I'm often reminded of a presentation that I saw locally several years ago. Jim Collins, author of Good to Great, was talking about an interview he had done with Peter Drucker at Peter's home in Claremont, California. Peter Drucker is one of the most widely known and influential thinkers in management. Jim asked Peter which of his many books he thought was the best. Peter thought about it for a moment and responded, the next one. To our EDD community, may our next adventure be our best one. Thank you.
First, thank you all for being here. This is so cool to see everybody gather together last night and today. It's just been a pleasure seeing so many of you from over the years, and just thank you for being here. At this point, it's time to get to some of the good stuff, I think. We're very pleased to present the EDD program's inaugural annual awards in person. These awards, which will be presented annually each spring, represent a recognition of the commitment, hard work, and impact of the EDD community. Awarded to current and graduating students, alumni, and faculty, these annual awards are an opportunity to thank and showcase the works of our EDD community. And I am happy to present them here today. You can find a list of all the award winners in the program. The Heroic Leadership Award will be given each year to an outstanding EDD and interdisciplinary leadership program student who exemplifies the 4 leadership principles that, according to Chris Lowney, guide the Society of Jesus. The EDD student deserving of the Heroic Leadership Award will show a strong record of self-awareness by understanding their strengths, weaknesses, values, and worldview. Ingenuity by confidently innovating and adopting to embrace a changing world. Love by engaging others with a positive, loving attitude. And finally, heroism by energizing themselves and others through heroic ambitions. It is with this award criteria front and center that we recognize Ana Grande as the inaugural recipient of the EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program Heroic Leadership Award. Ana works with a great deal of heart and a commitment to doing good, whether serving as an assistant dean of traditional undergraduate programs, policy and community organizing director, or spearheading the California Dream Act campaign from 2007 to its passage in 2011. Ana exemplifies solidarity with the marginalized and the poor. In 2020, her book chapter titled The Bridge of Solidarity, Faith-Based Advocacy for Undocumented Students was published in the edited volume Bridge Building, Pope Francis's Practical Theological Approach. As the current Associate Executive Director of BRASI, Ana works to expand community efforts and bolster the leadership team to fulfill its mission to battle poverty by empowering youth and families in Los Angeles with the skills, resources, and relationships necessary to thrive. More recently, Ana has returned with invigorated love and energy from a visit to El Salvador, where her great uncle, Father Rutilio Grande, a Jesuit from El Salvador, was just beatified. Beatification is the final step before canonized sainthood in the church. He is called Blessed Rutilio now. It is with awareness and joy that we acknowledge Ana Grande as the 2022 recipient of the EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program Heroic Leadership Award. Congratulations, Ana. The Magis Award will be given each year to the outstanding EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program student who demonstrates the Jesuit charism of Magis through striving towards excellence, developing high expectations and standards, developing gifts and talents of themselves and others, and focusing on continuous improvement and professional development. We are honored to recognize Kevin Kane as the inaugural recipient of the Magis Award. Kevin Kane is a businessman, leader, and champion of Jesuit values. Kevin enacts Magis through his dedication to building long-term trusted relationships that can help to seek and achieve more. He believes in listening, asking questions, seeking understanding by using dialogue to map wise pathways. Kevin regularly and actively participates in extracurricular activities by attending J Talks and serving on the Alpha Iota Sigma Honor Society Research and Network Committee. He seeks more, not only for himself, but also through his community involvement. Kevin has served on the board of trustees of multiple organizations, from his service as chairman of the Advancement Committee of Ignatian Volunteer Corps to serving on the Corporate Work Study Program Committee of the Cristo Rey Boston High School. Kevin's actions reveal a life driven by Magis. We look forward to seeing the results of Kevin's dissertation in practice, which will surely offer new understanding of Jesuit practices in the broader community and illustrate continuous striving towards excellence. Congratulations, Kevin. The Dissertation in Practice Research Award will be given each year to an EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program student whose dissertation in practice research demonstrates excellence in discovery, integration, and application. As a program focused on the development of scholar practitioners, the EDD program uses Boyer's academic model of scholarship, which provides an expansive view of research. The student deserving of the Dissertation in Practice Research Award will show how their research includes original research that advances knowledge, the scholarship of discovery, involves synthesis of information across disciplines, across topics within a discipline or across time, the scholarship of integration, and involves the rigor and application of expertise with results that can be shared with and or evaluated by peers in leadership practice settings, the scholarship of application and engagement. We are happy to present the EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Dissertation and Practice Research Award to Dr. Kara Agajanian. Dr. Agajanian has a passion for supporting the dignity of all persons in her work in internationally focused organizations. After a 32-year career in the United States Air Force, Dr. Agajanian is currently the Director of Testing, Assessment, Culture, and FAO programs at Defense Language and National Security Education Office. Her dissertation in practice, titled Catholic Sisters, Leaders in the Fight Against Human Trafficking, a Phenomenological Study, acknowledged the complex and multifaceted experiences of Catholic sisters in international anti-human trafficking organizations. Her dissertation in practice addressed the need we have to better understand and learn from the experiences of unsung heroes, like the Catholic sisters in their fight against human trafficking. As she states in her dissertation, some of the best lessons have been through learning from my experiences and the experiences of others. There's much to learn from the 10 Catholic sisters that Dr. Agajanian interviewed, from the complexity of human trafficking to using system thinking to combat it. Dr. Agajanian and the Catholic sisters who shared their experiences with her demonstrated excellence in discovery, integration, and applications. Congratulations, Kara. The Scholar in Practice Award will be given each year to an EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program alumnus who has modeled the ability to effectively lead within complex and diverse societies by applying their dissertation in practice results and findings and proposed solution. The alumnus deserving of this Scholar in Practice will have applied their expertise from Chapter 5 of their dissertation in practice, in which they designed an evidence-based solution to their identified complex real-world problem that integrated what was previously known, along with findings from their study, to contribute to lasting and meaningful change for the greater good. Congratulations to Dr. Rebecca Rivera as the inaugural recipient of our Scholar in Practice Award. Dr. Rivera is an educator with a purpose. She works to train other educators in offering post-secondary education to men and women returning from prison. Dr. Rivera has helped create a reverse pipeline from prison to college that provides the possibility for equity, real rehabilitation, and the opportunity for a productive life for individuals in the correctional system. This work was the focus of Dr. Rivera's dissertation, and we could not be more proud of her commitment to conducting research that exemplifies the practitioner-scholar approach to creating sustained change in community. There isn't a better person to receive our first Scholar in Practice Award. Congratulations, Rebecca. The Instructor of the Year Award will be given each year to a deserving EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program faculty member, full or part-time, who has created a learning environment in alignment with the Jesuit mission. The faculty member deserving of the Instructor of the Year Award will show a strong record of student engagement and demonstrate enthusiasm for helping all students grow and thrive. Since retiring from an illustrious career with the U.S. Navy, Dr. Britt Watwood has been teaching for a quarter of a century, including 10 years with our EDD program. Britt has served as an instructor, dissertation chair, and a mentor to faculty, including myself, during that time. During all of that time, Britt has earned many awards and accolades, but as he shared with us, never an award for his teaching. It's time to fix that. I am sure that I am in good company when I say it's about time. We're proud to celebrate Dr. Watwood's career and friendship with the inaugural Instructor of the Year Award. I believe Dr. Wadwood has some remarks.
Well, thank you for this award. To be the first is something, but as Gail was giving the history, I was feeling this lump in my throat. I'm the link in the chain. Al Segrin was my doctoral advisor. And two of the three wise men were on my committee. So, I'm sure Isabel remembers that. I have been teaching for a quarter century, and most of that has been online. In fact, I was on Al's team that developed the first online course at the University of Nebraska. And my little claim to fame is when everybody was trying to figure out how to use satellites to do distance education, I raised my hand and said, how about the internet? And everybody in the room said, what's the internet? So, this award is the cherry on top for what's been a labor of love for many years. As Isabel will remember, I got a phone call from Al, I guess 12 years ago now, asking if I would like to design and teach some courses in a brand new program at Creighton University. And I've been doing it ever since and just loving it. It's been a fantastic way to interact with people. But in many ways, this is not an award for me. It's an award for all of us. And I've always felt like my job is to get the conversation going, but then I get to learn from the students. It's not that I'm going to be professing or anything. One cannot have leaders without followers, and you cannot have teachers without students. But I was never a professor per se that spends the time behind the podium professing. I've enjoyed 10 years of co-learning with a wonderful group. And I even got a chance to write a chapter in a book with two of my students in this program. So it's been great courses, great students, and an opportunity to chair a measly 15 dissertations after hearing about Peggy. As some of the alumni know, my tech course was quite non-traditional. I used blogs to allow the outside world to see what we were talking about. And that really added to the conversation. In one case, I was talking to someone earlier today, a three-star general wrote a screaming rebuttal to the readings I had assigned and said, this person has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. And then that person responded to his blog post. And over the next 2 days, another 50 people responded to that blog post. And it created this amazing teaching opportunity. So the community of inquiry that Gail mentioned, it's been part and parcel of my teaching for many years. And part of that idea of the community of inquiry is that there's social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence in all courses, and both the teacher and the students are part of all three. So the students have as much a role in teaching as I do. And I really have appreciated the interdisciplinary approach here. I really have to thank Leah and her predecessors, Ginny and Isabel, for their encouragement over the past 10 years. Jim Martin and Candace Bloomquist have been kind of my go-to faculty whenever I ran into problems and everything. But everybody in this program has been fantastic, and I've really enjoyed engaging with them. Lydia, Shannon, Kate have been great support structures. They allowed me to focus on what's going on with the students and engaging with them and not worry about the administrative side of this. And then finally, my wife, Linda, we're celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary this month. And So this is the first stop in our 50th wedding anniversary road trip. And we're going to leave here this weekend to go up to the Great Lakes and look around and just have a good time touring the Midwest. But I couldn't have done anything without her support. So thank you, Linda. And thank you, both of you.
Okay, at this point, we'll turn it over to Dr. Jennifer Mossbreen-Kazelka.
Thanks everyone for being here. And when I see you, Britt, I'm going to say this take 30 seconds. Britt and my dad were in the EDD program at University of Nebraska at the same time. And Ron Yeakel and Al Segrin were also on his dissertation committee. And it's funny how the universe pulls us together, because Isabel, I never knew any of that was happening when I was able to join Creighton. So I just am so happy for you, and congratulations on your retirement, and have fun on your trip. Yes, and relax a little bit. Welcome and thank you. It is my honor to present this in a special celebration of a decade of interdisciplinary leadership. The EDD program is delighted to present a number of 10th anniversary year awards. These awards represent accomplishments, but are most importantly care, growth, memories, and the heartbeat of a decade of program's people. I'm honored to present them today. The For and With Others Award is given to an exceptional EDD interdisciplinary leadership program alumnus who demonstrates the charism of being a person for and with others through giving back to their community, or through engagement in activities that put them in solidarity with and for the benefit of the poor and marginalized populations. The 10th anniversary For and With Others Award is beginning to Dr. Lee Ebersole. Dr. Ebersole is an exceptional educational leader. As director of the social and emotional support at Jefferson County Schools in West Virginia, Dr. Ebersole leads breakthrough initiatives to promote well-being through relationship building, positive classroom practices, and the systematic application of coordinated wraparound support services for marginalized children and families. Dr. Ebersole demonstrates his commitment to being a person for and with others through his dissertation and practice work titled Successful Aging Out of Foster Care, a constructivist grounded theory study, and the causes that put him in solidarity with children, the poor, and the marginalized. Dr. Ebersole does not steer away from difficult challenges, and he acknowledges in his dissertation and practice it was a conscious choice to affirm his own experience as a foster child that allowed him to build relationships among poor as well as the more affluent people with whom he leads now. He notes in his dissertation document, it was the shared identity he and the young participants in this study shared that held the possibility for their stories to generate a theoretical framework of success for transitioning out of foster care and into adulthood. Now, as Dr. Ebersole serves as an adjunct instructor within the EDD program and continues to serve the children and families of West Virginia, it is with abounding delight we present Dr. Lee Ebersole with the EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program For and With Others Award. The Leadership for Public Purpose Award is given to an exceptional EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program alumnus who demonstrates a commitment to leadership for a public purpose by striving for continuous improvement in leadership education, training, or development, or both. The alumnus deserving the Leadership for Public Purpose Award demonstrates a commitment to promoting interdisciplinary leadership, whether that is developing leadership within an educational institution, a workplace, or developing leadership in the wild. The 10th Anniversary Leadership for Public Purpose Award is given to Dr. Panka Way Victors Kozad. Dr. and Representative Panka Way Victors Kozad has served the people of Kansas in the state legislature since 2011. I'm sorry, I don't think I said Kansas State Legislature. I think I might make that clear. Kansas, thank you. Dr. Victor Kozad serves on many committees and has introduced important legislation that help improve the lives of people of Kansas. For example, among the many laws she has helped pass, she was instrumental in passing a law helping train state police on the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous people. Ponca Way not only leads for the public good of herself, she also has served as a mentor to women across the country seeking public office. From her dissertation work, which helps us better understand the rise of the Native American women who pursued elected state office to today, as some of her mentees win elected positions, Ponca Way has demonstrated her commitment to helping others for the greater good. We are thrilled to present our inaugural Leadership for Public Purpose Award to Dr. Ponca Way Victors Kozad. The Answering the Call Award is given to an exceptional EDD and interdisciplinary leadership program alumnus who demonstrates a personal commitment to service and volunteerism, including service to graduate students, Creighton University, or their local community. The alumnus deserving of the Answer the Call Award demonstrates a commitment to making a difference in their communities. The 10th anniversary Answering the Call Award is given to Dr. Lynette Singer. Dr. Lynette Singer is receiving Answering the Call Award in honor of her work with military widows through both service and her impressive dissertation research. Building support mechanisms for women who survive the loss of their spouse illustrates Dr. Singer's commitment to making a difference for others. Like many students, there are many moments where Dr. Singer may have had every reason to walk away from her work, but she didn't. Lynette demonstrated fortitude to pursue this work so that others may benefit from her research participants' impactful stories. Because of this dedication to serving others, we're honored to award Dr. Lynette Singer the Answering the Call Award.
I'd like to invite Isabel Cherney up as well and stay with me here, Jennifer. So there are people who make us believe we're good, deeply good. We each know them and we're each privileged to have them in our lives. And when we leave a moment with them, it's impossible to feel anything but joy and a sense of peace. Dr. Karen Francis Cook was that soul for so many of us. I found it only fitting that the three of us, the three program directors, Dr. Isabel Cherney, Dr. Masbreen-Kozelka, and myself, do this together because Karen touched each of our lives over the last 11 years, and we want to present this recognition together. Dr. Karen Cook, a 2013 graduate of the EDD program, went on to develop coursework, teach, and serve on EDD student dissertation committees for years after her graduation. Our community, her community, lost Karen in 2019, and we in turn, a small bit of our fire, the fire that our program had, went a little dim. While she isn't with us now, the memories and little bits that Karen left, including a pair of mittens she knit for my then newborn in 2014, remain with us. And indeed, Karen's family brought her regalia to us in hopes that another petite, fiery EDD graduate can benefit from one more of Karen's gifts. Isabel, I know you wanted to share a story as well.
Thank you for giving me 2 minutes to share a couple of stories of Karen's. And one that you might not know, but Karen was the first person I met with the first cohorts that we adopted here on campus. And we hit it off right away. We started to talk about children. I knew a lot about Catherine quite fast and her mom and dad and all the care that she had for them and love. And we had a great orientation. And what happened the day off when people went home, we had a real Nebraska storm with golf ball size hail that damaged half of the fleet that was out on Epley Airfield. Karen happened to be sitting in one of those airplanes, had to obviously get out of it. And what did she do? She got back to the Element Hotel, got a suite, texted everybody that she barely met, right? 2 days prior, invited them over, and they had a big sleepover. And that's who Karen was, a servant leader at all times. She was the person who happened to be at my house. We were knitting, actually. I was just thinking about that. And I remember saying, you know, I'm going to call my mom. And she thought, oh, that was so great. I talked to my mom, and that was the last time I got to talk to her. She actually died suddenly 2 days later. But it was Karen who was there, the first person to visit me when I went to Boston, Karen and Catherine. She was always there. Even when I had a layover in Newark for a couple of hours, she said, oh, come on out. I'll take you out. And so I did. So Karen was beyond a servant leader. She was I'm going to cry and I'm sorry, but she had the soul of a heroic leader, and was always there for everyone, no matter what. And she's deeply, deeply missed. And I know so many of you have probably had a class with her. She used to teach the servant leader and probably other courses after that too. But I am just so blessed that she was on my path and such an important part of me as well. And on behalf of all of us, we are so thankful that you are here with us today.
So I am delighted that Karen's daughter, Catherine Harder, and Karen's mother, Mary Ellen Cook, have joined us today to accept this memorial recognition. Catherine, as you look around this room and hear stories of your mother and the impact she left, I want you to know that you are both part of this family too. Yes.
Creighton University and the EDD program here is where my mom found her academic and intellectual home. She fell immediately in love with, and thus talked incessantly about, Jesuit educational values. She was amazed by and welcomed into her cohort from the very first class. But equally as important as finding a home, she found her people. As both a student and an instructor, my mom felt an immense connection to those studying alongside her. She leaned on the community as she powered through her degree and dissertation, and she connected equally with her colleagues and superiors as she taught new content in the program. While all of these experiences were imperative, what I take away from Creighton, what she took away from Creighton, is a full heart. My mom became her whole self in this EDD program. The time she spent here was her greatest accomplishment, second only to motherhood. I will forever be profoundly grateful to the impact Creighton had on my mom. It truly did change her for the better. And for that, I can't thank Creighton enough.
You stay here, ma'am. All right. While the EDD program has been successful in many ways, one space we've had a difficult time is in providing scholarship support for our students. Today, however, I'm delighted to share some very exciting and positive movement toward providing that important support. As I shared a bit ago, Dr. Isabel Cherney, the founding program director of the EDD program, played an integral role in not just the creation of this program, but the heartbeat of it during its early and formative years. Isabel knew every student, and in a program with, at the time, 350 students, that's saying something. She created this community, and her relationship with our earliest students still remains strong. She walked with her students as colleagues toward their goals and crossed the finish line with them too. If there were 24 hours in a day, Isabel must have somehow had 50, because the dedication and personal touch she shared with each of us was indeed meant for us as individuals. I had the privilege of knowing Dr. Cherney first as a student many years ago, and then as my director in this program as we navigated those early years as a team together. I can attest, you leave each conversation with Isabel more confident in yourself and more sure that indeed you can and should go set the world on fire. And she's not done. In a few short weeks, Isabel will take the position as the 13th president of Mount Mary University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Maybe you have 60 hours in a day, Isabel. In recognition of Dr. Cherney's early and profound leadership in the EDD program, I'm very pleased to announce the establishment of the Dr. Isabel Cherney EDD and Interdisciplinary Leadership Program Scholarship Fund. This scholarship will make a difference for our students, and the discretion of this fund allows that we can assist EDD students in a variety of ways: travel for learning institutes such as this, professional development support to share their research at conferences, and hopefully soon aid in what we know is desperately needed tuition support. An invitation to donate to this fund was spearheaded by our own Mary Chase, Vice President for Enrollment and 2014 graduate of the EDD program. Mary, if you would stand, please. Mary, who was on your dissertation committee again? Oh, it was us? That's right, it was us, yeah. I just want to make sure you remember. As the first significant donor, she has gone on a tour to solicit our alumni, many of whom are still connected with Isabel, to contribute to this fund, and I want to personally thank her, as well as the generous contribution outreach on this fund's behalf. Thank you, Mary. And I'd like to invite Isabel to give a couple of remarks.
Thank you, Leah. And yes, Leah was my research student for the 4 years as undergraduate. And I kept an eye on her as she went on to get her PhD. And I was able to get her over also from psychology and ask her to finish up so she could really join the EDD program at the time. But I'm nobody special. I am merely somebody who's passionate about social justice, education, and being able to change the world little piece at a time. And so when I don't sleep, I think about, oh, who could do this job? And I delegate. So I'm pretty good at delegating. So even though I have plenty of hours that I work, it's more my pleasure, it's my passion. So it's not really work. In fact, I was kind of hoping I could retire, and this new job opportunity opened up. And truthfully, I was thinking about my Jesuit background and what I was taught. And if Chris Lowney were here, I would say, it's your fault, because this heroic leadership, and if you are given an opportunity to maybe change a couple of lives, you've got to take it. And if they thought that I was the right person, who am I to say no? And so I want to just say, one, Mary, when I was asked to be on a Zoom call, I told my husband, where is he? Somewhere here. I told him, oh, I'm sure they're going to ask me to say a few words. And so I was ready. Sure, yes, I will say a few words. And Mary came on, and she was, I had no words what it means for this legacy to go on. Because this program, yes, it was a lot of work, but it was just not me. It was multiple people. And Gail mentioned so many of them, the three wise men. What would we have done without them? And Gail and fighting for the opportunities, and the whole administration, and it really takes a village. I was merely the champion that would go and knock on people's doors, but it's the willingness of people to be open and to want something and to see that maybe this is something new that we can take a risk on. So when Mary put her own money into on somebody else's name for it, I literally afterwards, I was so speechless, and I said, oh my God, I made a difference. Because you don't always know that you make the difference, but so I'm sorry if I'm choking up, but it is such a privilege. And it was a privilege to work here and do this, and that somebody actually thinks it's worth continuing, and to see all your wonderful work that every single student is doing here. I could tell you for hours what all these the 300 students that I sort of still am in contact with, what they're doing. 4 of them are now presidents of universities, Catholic universities. It does show that the values are moving, but beyond that, so many are successful in their lives and have a purpose and do make those changes, as Leah mentioned. These 14,000 or whatever, however many you think, many, many more are touched by the students. So from the bottom of my heart, Mary, thank you for checking, because I know how hard it is to open up a fund. I actually tried that as well. Not in my name, but I couldn't even get there. So thank you. Thank you to Creighton. Thank you to certainly the current, past faculty, staff that worked around. Thank you to Gail for being a champion for the whole Office of Graduate School. There was not just an administrative support, but an emotional support many times. And a special thank you to my husband. Mike, where are you? Don't even know, is he back? And my sons, because they were the ones who didn't see much of me during those years. But they were always behind there, and I knew that in some ways they were proud of what I was building here. And I know I'm forgetting many people, but a special thank you for all of you who came here today and for continuing this really wonderful, wonderful program. You don't see many interdisciplinary programs. You don't see many doctoral programs that use and apply and that do the dip. In fact, I think the dissertation in practice was sort of, I read it somewhere and I thought, woo, I'll borrow that one, because it is what really is happening here. So one at a time, you're changing the world for the better. And as St. Ignatius would say, right? Let's go forth and light the fire. I can't even say it anymore, right? Thank you.
Thank you. It's an interesting position to be in between 2 legends. I have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Chris Lowney. Mr. Lowney's book, Heroic Leadership, is read by every student in our program in the first course of that they enroll in. He currently vice chairs the board of Common Spirit Health, a Catholic healthcare system that is one of America's largest hospital systems, with more than 100 hospitals across 21 states. Previously, Chris served as a managing director of the investment banking firm JP Morgan and Company in Tokyo, Singapore, London, and New York. He has authored 6 books, including the best-selling Heroic Leadership, which has been translated into 11 languages. His other works include Pope Francis, Why He Leads the Way He Leads, and Everyone Leads, How to Revitalize the Catholic Church. Chris was born in New York City, hates the Yankees, and is a long-suffering Mets fan. He holds 7 honorary doctoral degrees, but lacks the chops to earn one the old-fashioned way. These are his words, not mine. I hope you enjoy Chris's presentation.
Greetings, friends. I feel terrible that I'm not there in person, but we've cobbled together a couple of quasi in-person opportunities, and I hope you'll bear with me for about 25 minutes, and I'll try to race through some of the ideas that I wanted to present. But first, let me note on this cover slide my email address. Since I'm not there right now, please feel free to take it down, be in touch with me. I'm very happy to carry on the conversation. I have so much respect for this program that you've done. And I really love to be involved with those of you who are doing it. And, you know, in a weird way, what's happened, this terrible flight mishap, is only a microcosm of the core idea around which I was going to build my comments anyway. And let's go to the next slide, Lydia. I was going to start by asking for a show of hands, and you could even have a show of hands right now. Let's think about the world today and the world 15 years ago. And if you think the world is faster paced nowadays, why don't you raise your hand? More complex, raise your hand. More change, raise your hand. I'm not sitting there, but I will tell you that I'm a psychic genius, and I know that almost all the hands are up because that's always the way it is in every group. We're living in a world, and now we can go to the next slide, that's become VUCA. The military gave us this wonderful acronym for a world that's volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And they coined that acronym thinking about soldiers in the middle of kinetic battlefields and how complicated and difficult that is. I'll expand for a minute, Lydia. You know, and how difficult that is to navigate. And, you know, I've never met a group that in any industry hasn't felt that this same acronym applies to them. You know, whether it's publishing, education, investment banking, healthcare, whatever it is, we feel like we're grappling with enormous amounts of change. Problems arise that we couldn't foresee. We have to make more decisions than we anticipated. Just as when my flight mishap occurred now, we had to swing into action and figure out what to do about it. And VUCA, the reality of complexity and change, has enormous implications for leadership, for showing leadership. And that's what I want to focus on and will focus on. But before I get into the implications for leadership, let me reinforce this idea of what change wreaks for the rest of us. The first idea I want to share is from that great philosopher, Mike Tyson. Some of you may remember the boxer. And next slide, Lydia. And here's what Mike tells us. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. But I got punched in the face this morning by the airlines. And so it is in whatever is your profession or occupation. We have our plan A for life, and then we have to adapt. One of the realities of a VUCA world. And the next slide is another way of getting at that idea. This is from James York, the founder of chaos theory. And he once said, the most successful people I know are those who are good at plan B. And that's the way it's going to be for us. We're going to have to be the kind of people who are able to adapt. And I'll give you a third quote on the next slide that is a very deep and beautiful idea that ties together a key idea of heroic leadership. I'll read it to you. Pope Francis once said this: One who loves has the imagination to discover solutions where others see only problems. And one who loves helps others according to their needs and with creativity, not according to pre-established or commonplace ideas. He is a creator. Love leads you to create. It is always in the lead. And I really think it's wonderful, beautiful how the Pope draws together these ideas of leadership, of love, and of adaptability. And I thought of it this morning after my flights all got canceled. You know, I mean, I'm not going to be, I didn't go around the hallways of JP Morgan telling people I love them and hugging them. And I'm not going to say, oh, I love you guys. I haven't met most of you, the great majority of you. But when things went wrong, Candace, Leah, I, Lydia, you know, we all were kind of working hard to say, look, how can we cobble together a plan B here? And somehow love had something to do with that. You know, in the philosophical sense, you know, Aristotle gives us the idea of love is wanting the good for another. And we all kind of cared enough to say, yeah, we've got to figure this out. Just as I suspect many of you are educators, you come up against VUCA problems, you care about your kids, you love them, your students, and that in a way infuses you with a certain amount of creativity to say, look, I've got to come up with a solution here. So that's our big framing idea. A VUCA world has lots of implications for leadership. And in the next slide, this is kind of the agenda that I set up. Let's skip this slide, Lydia. Is the agenda that I kind of set up for talking through it, that when you get into VUCA environments, you need to first create a culture where everyone leads, where everyone feels a leadership opportunity, responsibility. We've all got to improve our leadership skills because we've all got the Moses problem. I'll explain that. We've all got to be more innovative. I just covered that idea. The world's going to keep changing. We need to be able to adapt too. We've got to have a daily habit of reflection, a way to stay oriented and on track amidst the chaos that's swirling around us, the change, the complexity, and finally, only with courage are any of these ideas going to happen. Take this slide down. Lydia, I'll talk for it about a minute before I go on. And first, let me say this, that all of you are most welcome to have the PowerPoint, use it in whatever way you want. Send an email to me, I'll send it to you, Candace, or the team will be glad to share it with you. So if any ideas go by quickly, you're very welcome to have the material and work through it again. But the first idea on that is creating a culture where everyone leads. And let me get at why that's important and how it relates to VUCA. You know, as some of you know, you've heard talks I've given, and I almost always start with this little gimmick of asking people to think of the names of leaders. And people invariably think of famous people, Pope Francis, Barack Obama, they never think of their own name. And I go on to say, well, gee, why is that? Because if you look in the dictionary, one of the definitions of leadership is to point out a way, direction, or goal, and to influence others toward it. And isn't it true that all of us are doing these words all the time? You know, we're not like literally holding a sign and pointing away, but by virtue of how we treat other people, how we use our time and money, what we value and prioritize, we're implicitly pointing out a way, you know, saying to other people implicitly, this is how human beings ought to live and work. And we're having influence. Some of us are having lots of formal influence, maybe in a school setting. I'm a principal or a classroom teacher, but all of us in family life, in those we interact with as clients or customers, we're having influence all the time. And you know, when you think about the qualities of good leadership, I sometimes ask folks to think about that. And people say, associate great leadership with qualities like listening, empathy, courage, being able to be decisive, to be compassionate toward others, having some sense of direction or vision. they usually come up with a list of qualities that they themselves and all of us could role model every day. So I know that in your program, you used heroic leadership as one of your texts, and I'm deeply humbled that you did. But I hope you'll all remember that the core idea, the foundational idea of heroic leadership is it's all about us. It's not a book about what Barack Obama should do, or what Donald Trump should do, or what Joe Biden should do. It's a book about what we should do. And so that mindset is really important, and conveying that mindset either to students, colleagues, family members, helping them to understand this deep vision of what leadership actually is, that's also really important because of VUCA. Because, you know, when you get in environments where things are getting more, the problems are getting more complex, the problems are coming more quickly, we have to make more decisions. There's no way that any one person or even a small group of people are going to be able to handle all the issues that come up, represent the organization to everyone it needs to be represented. So this idea that everyone leads is even more imperative and important in a context of VUCA. So that's our first fundamental idea. Lydia, let's go to the next slide, but I'm hardly going to dwell on it. This is when you get the copies of the slide, please ask Candace for them or me. It is a survey from Deloitte. Just read the first sentence. 80% of their corporate customers said leadership is a high priority. Only 40% said they think their organizations are ready. It just underscores this basic point I'm making, that we need environments where more people embrace their leadership opportunity. And it's important in this context for all of us to hone our leadership skills, because next slide, Lydia, we've all got the Moses problem. That was our second idea. And Lydia, take down the slide. I'll talk for a minute about it. And so what do I mean when I say Moses problem? And I'm being flip, but only a little bit flip. You all remember this wonderful biblical story where Moses is leading the Israelites from slavery, and they get to the edge of the Red Sea, and he parts the Red Sea with Yahweh's help, and they go through and they're safe. And man, I mean, how is that for world-class leadership? I mean, if you could pull that off in your organization, surely you'd have the undying allegiance of your teams. Or maybe not, because a lot of you know that story from Exodus, and you know what happens. Well, yeah, you parted the Red Sea, Moses. That was 72 hours ago. Now I'm hot, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm miserable, and I'm pissed off. And one of the things that they want from Moses is the most fundamental thing that anybody wants from a leader, namely, where are we going? How are we going to get there? When are we going to get there? What's the plan? And Moses has what we might call a vision, so to speak. He understands the promised land. But human beings, whether it's whatever organization you work in Creighton, in whatever school you might work in, if you're an educator in your healthcare system, human beings only get so far on vision or big picture alone. And, you know, at a certain point, we want like the turn-by-turn directions. Like, yeah, we're going to go on Highway 80 for the next 2.5 hours. We're going to take exit 36 and we're going to be in the promised land. Moses couldn't tell them that. And because of VUCA, whatever environment you're in, you can't tell them that either, because things change too much and too rapidly. And here's my point, that when we can't give people the turn-by-turn directions that makes it easy for them to hang with us and follow us, we've got to amp up, ratchet up all of our other leadership skills and capabilities in order to keep them with us without the turn-by-turn directions. Huh? And let's go to the next slide, Lydia. I sometimes get at this idea of amping up our other leadership skills by jumping off of this definition that the US Air Force, a branch of it, sometimes used: the art of influencing and directing people in such a way that will win their confidence, respect, and cooperation. And I don't know if the team, Leah or Candace or Lydia, wants to do this right at this moment, but if we go to the next slide, I then sometimes stop the whole discussion and say, why don't you have a little chat about a couple of stories that come to your mind of a mentor, colleague, teacher in your own life who won your respect, confidence, and cooperation. Let's take down the slide, Lydia. And I think this gets to exactly the kinds of qualities that help people to stay with us when we can't give them all of the concrete direction and guidance that they might want. And as many of you will remember, in the book Heroic Leadership, I talk about the idea of loving leadership. And I talk about that as the idea of understanding each person as having a lot of potential, respecting their dignity, trying to unlock their potential. And I think that when we focus on this phrase, that part of our job as leaders, especially when we're new, is to win the respect, confidence, cooperation of colleagues, that some of the behaviors that do win people's respect and confidence are behaviors that we might call love in a leadership or organizational context. And this is not just my spin, like junk I'm making up. There was a great survey when McKinsey asked recently a number of corporate clients, what leadership behaviors did they think most important in bringing teams together? And on the next slide, Lydia, you'll see that I excerpted about half of those behaviors. And frankly, every behavior on that list, I think, is one that we could say, yeah, this is what love could look like, care for teams in an organizational setting. Let's go to the next slide, Lydia, if you can. And so here's that McKinsey list. Be supportive, develop others, develop and share common mission, foster mutual respect, give praise. You can keep reading. These are loving kinds of behaviors, I think. And they're behaviors, a playbook, if you will, for winning respect, confidence of teams. If you want to boil it down even to a single phrase, on the next couple of slides, I've excerpted just a single quote. Let's look at the next one, Lydia. Here's one from Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lydia's going to bring this up in a second. And he was asked once to talk conceptually about how he understood his vision as coach. And look what he says. Every day when I go to work, I think about the things I could do to make my team successful. So I have a servant's mentality in terms of how I approach my job. It totally encapsulates what I've just been saying for the last 5 minutes about winning respect and confidence of the team amidst VUCA. And I promise you, whatever kind of organization you work in, if you can get a critical mass of leaders, managers, to come into work every day with this on their minds, how can I make the team successful? Then you're going to be a hugely successful enterprise. And look how he describes that in the end. He calls it a servant's mentality. And I know that in the course of your doctoral work, you also thought about the concept of servant leadership, which I think dovetails beautifully with everything I talked about in heroic leadership and with everything that I'm giving in this talk today and that Creighton stands for. And I, in a nutshell, talk about it as the idea of, you know something, at the end of the day, it's not all about me. It's not all about my ego, what I care about, my status, my salary. Rather, I'm willing to invest my time and talent and energy in some sense of mission that I consider bigger than myself. And therefore, I'm going to put team first. I'm serving the team, so to speak, trying to unlock people's potential. Another very different quote from Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook. I'm not going to unpack it. It speaks for itself. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. Especially for those of you who are educators, just imagine how powerful it would be if this were our legacy. That everyone who interacted with us was able to say afterward, you know something, these people made me better as a result of being with them. And even after I'm gone, I'm still better. So our second big idea in the context of VUCA, the first idea was really important that everybody embraces their leadership opportunity. Second big idea, with so much confusion and complexity, we're going to have to amp up our skills to make sure we're winning people's respect and confidence. To me, this aligns with my idea of being loving as leaders. And now a third idea, we'll go through it quickly. Next slide, Lydia, and I think we'll skip this one. The third idea is we've all got to be more innovative because the world won't stop changing. And I think I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because intuitively, I think it's pretty clear. And especially if you bought into my upfront framing idea of VUCA, complexity, change, volatility, of course it follows that if we are rigid and have everything static while everything else is changing around us, it's just not going to work. It's never going to work. And as you'll remember, one of the core ideas in heroic leadership, this idea of ingenuity, really drew from the Jesuit tradition in terms of trying to help us understand what internally it takes to become a free human being, somebody who's ingenious, able to adapt. Let's go forward, Lydia. We're going to skip a slide. We're going to skip another slide. I showed you that one. This is what I sometimes say to people it takes in order to be adaptive. We've all got to unload our inner baggage. And many of you will know that this phrase is my riff on a core idea from the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola, who had this great, powerful insight, I think, that a lot of times he said, we get into trouble when we face big decisions because we're unfree. We're hobbled by our unhealthy attachments to inner crap that gets in the way of making choices that will best serve the mission. In my language, we have all kinds of inner baggage and we've got to unload it. Next slide, Lydia. And I share some of the examples of ways in which we sometimes get unfree, attached. Sometimes we're attached to our fears. The fear of trying something new, taking prudent risk, the impulse to do what others are doing. We're attached to that. Or we're attached to the way it's always been done before, or our own need to be in control or to win. We're not open to ideas from other team members because we're so attached to our own status, greed, power, ego, whatever the heck it may be. So the third implication of VUCA is, are we people who understand very well that in our personal lives and in our organizational lives, we're going to need to be adaptive, ingenious, able to change? And are we taking inventory, therefore, of these inner unfreedoms that sometimes hold us back from being able to adapt in the ways we need to? So that's our third big idea. And let's move forward, Lydia. Let's skip this. Let's skip the next. The next idea was that we all need a daily habit of reflection. Why don't you take the slide down, Lydia? I'll talk without a slide for a minute or two. So the fourth implication of VUCA if everything is so crazy around us, we need to have an ability to stay on track amidst the craziness and step back. And those of you who've read Heroic Leadership know that I often counsel using one of these great tools from, again, from the Jesuit tradition, the idea of the examen. I often call it a daily mental pit stop. And I say to folks, you know, could you find at least one, maybe two times where regularly you could take 2 or 3 minutes out of the flux of daily life? A couple minutes after lunch, commuting home from work, just before you go to bed, whatever works. And during those couple of minutes, first step, gratitude. We spend our whole life thinking of to-do lists and problems. Instead of that, let me think, you know, why am I grateful as a human being? And then second, could I lift my horizon a little bit? In other words, my horizon is usually like this. There's the text I need to respond to. There's the music that's on. I like it. And instead, let me think, you know, gee, why am I doing this with my life anyway? Why did I do this degree? Why am I working in this school or in this organization? Why am I here on earth? Raise perspective in a way that makes us think deeply about our sense of purpose and mission. And then third, all in these same couple of minutes, mentally revisit the last few hours of the day, meetings I was in, people I was with, and try to unlock some lesson learned that might help me in the next few hours. If I was impatient all morning, I lashed at somebody or distracted. What was going on there? Can I process that, get over it, and get back in the game? And I think the genius of this very simple practice becomes totally obvious when we think about the crazy VUCA world in which we're all trying to live. We're kind of reeling or floating along this river of email, meeting, phone call, text, distraction, social media. We get to the end of the workday, we've been 100% present to every crazy, random, miscellaneous distraction that crosses our radar. What we haven't been sufficiently present to is what ultimately is most important. What's going on inside me in a deep way? What are my biggest priorities? What's my relationship with my creator as I understand? So our fourth idea, our fourth implication of VUCA, when so much is changing, we're going to need a habit that takes us out of the day's chaos and flux and helps us to reorient and stay on track. I've pretty much used up all my time. So the last idea I'll just share very quickly, that at the end of the day, nothing that I said just now happens without personal courage. And when I talk about courage, I'm not talking about saving somebody in a battlefield or in a burning building. A few of us will have the opportunity for such a grand scale of courage. Rather, I'm talking about a more pedestrian, everyday kind of courage that often is encapsulated for me in a very meaningful quote from my own life from Nelson Mandela. And he once said this, my greatest enemy was not those who put or kept me in prison. It was myself. I was afraid to be who I am. And you know, most of you are too young, but I remember watching Mandela those first months. And that guy seemed to have so much natural courage, charisma, self-confidence, that by comparison, I thought, oh, well, you know, that's my excuse for not showing up more as a leader. I don't have all these natural gifts that he has. And then he tells me, and he's telling all you, no, Chris, no, my friends, I'm sorry. I was afraid too. And let me tell you, I've had the privilege of knowing a lot of very successful people. And I don't know all their personal stories. But where I do know people's stories, I can tell you this. Just about everybody's afraid. Nobody has enough self-confidence. And to me, leadership is not about doing this degree at Creighton or reading Chris Lowney's book or going through some workshop, and suddenly I have all the self-confidence I always wished I had. Rather, it's kind of appreciating, something. Yeah, I mean, I have my fears, my issues, but I also have some gifts here. I have some wisdom, some talent, and I'm going to try to get over myself and get over my baggage and try to show up every day and show the leadership. Let me end there. I hope I'll see all of you tomorrow. I know not everybody could stay around, but I'll spend some time tomorrow. You have my email address. Please use it. I want to be in touch. And let me wish you all the best of luck in your lives as leaders.
Thank you for this creative solution to our VUCA problem that occurred today. I'd next like to introduce Ken Giles for our, what did we call, oh, closing reflection. I almost said benediction and I wasn't sure if that was right. Closing reflection. Ken is one of our current students.
Good afternoon. I know that the evening or afternoon is far spent, so I will not hold you long. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I did notice that I am the only staff or non-staff member that is on the program today, so I'm assuming that that is your way of offering me a job. And I want you to know I accept, and I look forward to my placement at Creighton. The president, faculty, staff, and students of this great university and guests, to our honorees for this afternoon, and the esteemed keynote speaker, of course, in his absence. What an honor it is to be a part of this moment, and how thankful I am for this privilege that has been afforded me to stand before this body of learners and leaders. It is again a privilege and an honor to be a part of this interdisciplinary leadership program here at Creighton. And it is a process that literally challenges and changes the trajectory of our lives, not only for ourselves, but for the lives of others as well, and which has been demonstrated and expressed so eloquently and lovely in this afternoon. Howard Thurman, a Black theologian and civil rights leader, he once said, "Do not ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive." It is such an honor to witness and to be a part of this community and this ceremony this week, this process, because this is a place where we strain to come alive. And we come alive through our research, through engagement, through interaction, through correction, through implementation, through touching others one life at a time, through diversity, just to name a few. And we are continually challenged to come alive. Why? Because we are still surrounded by a world that needs us in the unique and authentic way that God has created each and every one of us to come alive. This afternoon serves as a reminder that we are impacting the world through our work and research. And as we do so, it changes our scope and perspective, but it also extends the impact of our reach as we build upon heroic leadership that continues to change the world. Keep coming alive, because you matter to the world, and we're grateful to this platform that encourages us, rather than just cursing the darkness, go out and set the world on fire one life at a time. Good afternoon and God bless.
Ken, you can speak all day, please. My word, we'll find something for you by all means. Stick around. Thank you for that beautiful reflection. We close our program for this afternoon. And Chris, if I was here, of course, thank you for sharing his wisdom. And we look forward to seeing him tomorrow from 10 to 11. Fingers crossed the flights go exactly how they're supposed to for that book signing and a couple of live remarks. Award recipients, honorees, you inspire us to do the work that we do. And I ask that you continue to take your good works into your communities, and you make us so very proud. To our students with us in person and virtually, I promise we'll keep challenging you, and I hope you'll continue to challenge us in return. It's our privilege to walk with you, and it's a moment we don't take for granted, and not one moment. To the entire planning team to bring us together today. And over these 3 days, the faculty, Jim Martin, Jennifer Mossbury and Kazelka, Deb Ford, Candace Bloomquist, these 3-day learning institutes are as much a gift to us as we hope they are to you as our students and our guests. Probably my deepest and greatest thanks goes to our incredible staff who especially made this event go. Lydia, Shannon, Monica, Rachel Cole, Senior Director for Alumni Relations. And to Candace, who is hidden up in the booth, making sure that what we see is supposed to be what we're supposed to be looking at. If there's a detail to be added and double checked, you did it. And on the fly most of the time. You serve our students in EDD program with deep and profound modus, and I want to thank you for absolutely everything you put into coordinating our day-to-day and also this event. Now, the last bit, I promise, I know I'm the only thing standing between you and happy hour, is before we depart for that reception just outside these doors, I want to offer a final really lovely opportunity. Gladys Jenke, the chaplain for the graduate school, is providing a very special opportunity for the EDD community. In the spirit of community and furthering the conversations we have together this week, Gladys is encouraging us to reflect on life transitions that we're in today. We're constantly transitioning, changing, and looking ahead. How are we preparing ourselves for who we are becoming? Gladys is offering an opportunity for us to reflect on these questions and read and discuss together Chris Lowney's most recent book, Make Today Matter: 10 Habits to a Better Life. This conversation is simply an opportunity for students, friends, alumni to explore what's next, perhaps as you move beyond the program and into the next great adventure, and for alumni to come back to this Ignatian tradition. During the summer, Gladys will offer short reflections on the 10 habits about every 2 weeks. It's a very short book. And participants are welcome to provide short comments if you'd like. Then, in late July, Gladys will host a virtual gathering and discuss the most impactful readings and conversations from our time together. As a particularly special offering, Chris has offered to join that final conversation. More to come, so keep your eyes on your inboxes in the coming week or so. Now, shall we officially cheers to these past 10 years or so? I think so too. Thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing you at our reception.